I guess we'll go ahead and get this started and go from there.
Right.
We may briefly touch on the kaiju stuff because I was going to write down some questions because I kind of like the format of asking questions. And I just totally got home on the couch. I ate a peanut butter and jelly sandwich because I just needed something. And then we were waiting for Anna was cooking dinner, and I was like, okay, nighty night for about an hour.
It happens, man.
Little late today.
It happens. I went to a piano bar for the first time because my sister-in-law wanted to go for her birthday, so she invited me, my wife. Of course, her husband came along and a couple of their friends, and I'd never been to a piano bar before, so I had no idea what to expect other than a piano. So we showed up there. It was just like this little bitty place. Lady got up to play the piano. Dude got up to play some drums along with it. And then it was just a series of nothing but drinking and requesting various songs that she played, and was very self-depreciative with her humor, which I always appreciate. So we were there from 9 o'clock till 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was the DD. So I didn't have quite as much fun as everybody else, but
you're supposed to. You're supposed to. If you're the DD, no, I'm sorry, that's the DM.
Yes, yes, DM's completely different. Unfortunately, we missed out on my DM opportunity this weekend, but that's fine.
Yeah,
it happens.
Well, it gives me a little more time to come up with my stuff. So
yeah, yeah. So after we hit the piano bar thing, we left there, and the wife and I were trying to drink on empty stomachs, which is a horrible idea because all they sold at the bar was like pretzels. So it's 1 o'clock. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. Where do you go? Whataburger, because they're serving breakfast at that point. Well, the problem is that every drunk within a 20 square mile radius had the exact same idea. So we're sitting in a line waiting to get up to the Whataburger just to get some breakfast burgers, and my brother decides to just get out of my car and go walking off into the distance behind a fence because maybe he had a little too much. So yeah, and then when we were getting back to their apartment, my sister-in-law's mother called us about, hey, how are y'all doing? Are y'all okay? And we're like, yeah, sure, we're fine. What's going on? It's like, oh, I heard gunshots. We're like, okay, what are we driving into over here? We go pulling up. We go into the apartment complex, around a corner, and right in front of us is just a car kind of tilted at an angle with its hazards on, just sitting in the middle of the roadway. I sat there for a second. I was looking around. I'm like, there ain't nobody here. I don't hear anything going on. There are apartments like right around that corner over there. We're going to go really slow. And sure enough, man, like the tire was blown out on it. The driver's side window was blown out. It was like, oh crap. Pull up. Okay, y'all get out. get out.
Car. Vacate.
Get out and get home and be safe so we can get the hell out of here because I don't feel like being a statistic. So yeah, Friday was interesting. It was very interesting. And I'm sorry, the reason why I brought that up was because I also took a nap before we went on that little trip, because sometimes you just need those naps, man, just to recharge your batteries just a little bit.
Yep. So on that note, let me start the episode and we'll go back into this rest of this because there's our beginning intro.
There you
go. David's drunk adventures and dodging a serious problem. Trying to think of something better to say, but serious antics of possibly getting carjacked or
shenanigans of driving one family home.
Yeah. One piano bars, 1 a.m. Whataburger, and
gunplay.
And guns.
Okay, so if you're gonna have a piano person, person playing piano there, right? You need to either have her play the whole "Eyes on You" from Final Fantasy VIII, or Piano Man.
Man. Okay.
Oh no.
A long time ago, I read an article that I do not frequent bars. That I think that's the very first bar
Me
I've
neither.
actually ever been to. All my other drinking experiences have been at like Main Event or at a restaurant or something, right? So I read a thing, and not even being in the bar scene, I already kind of knew this gets done everywhere, but this article just kind of reinforced it for me. And it was the comment of, will you people stop playing Piano Man on the jukebox? On the, like, if you're coming in there to do a show, stop it. It's been done billions of times. Everyone has heard that damn song. It's not, smart, it's not witty, it's not any of that stuff. Just quit. Just stop it, please. And I was like, oh. So whenever we went into this piano bar, I turned to my brother and I was like, how many songs in until someone requests Piano Man? And we were both a little bit off. I think it took about 6 songs to get into it. But sure enough, man, fired that song up. I was like, there it is. Man, we're playing to the cliches. Thank God.
Oh man.
Guns and Pianos coming soon to a theater near you.
You could have had like what? We Didn't Start the Fire by Billy Joel.
See, that would be a better song. I would have been down with that.
Yeah.
Man, I can't remember all the stuff that got played. There was some Britney Spears in there. There was some Queen. There was some George Strait. It was the spectrum of music that you could think of.
With a
And
piano.
you had like little old people getting out and getting down to Britney Spears' Toxic. And then this old man in a cowboy hat was coming by and talking shit to me, asking me why I wasn't on the dance floor. I'm like,
Random. That's completely
Yes.
random.
yes, it was very random, dude. It was, but that's from my understanding. Again, I'm not a bar person, but from my understanding, that's what the bar is all about: is weird, random experiences with strangers that hopefully don't involve drugs in your drink, because then it gets outside the realm of weird and criminal.
Well, was it a Grand Theft Auto and 5? Whenever you start going up to the dude that has the experimental drugs, and you start shooting aliens and stuff, and having these weird trippy dreams, and it's like every time you wake up, you're more angry and trying to find the guy who gave you the stuff that made you go on these trips.
It's about right.
All right. On that note,
Oh, sorry, man.
let me
Stop
get.
dovetailing.
Hey everyone, welcome to That Level Podcast. This is episode 35. This week we're going to talk about random things again and kaiju movies. So we hope you enjoy, and let's get into the episode. So David, you're talking about going to this bar and the person playing the piano. As far as me going, I've gone to a few bars, of course, because of my Uncle Gene. That's where I learned the definition between what's a dive bar versus a regular bar.
Okay.
So many memories of driving my uncle to work and then picking him up and then going to take him to a bar for a couple hours and then driving him home all the way from Pasadena to Katy. I don't mind it. I miss those memories. Some weird shenanigans that me and Andrew got into because we had to help some lady move some furniture into her house, and
those are the best stories, man. And it's like those kinds of long trips are fun as long as you got someone that you can interact with well enough and play off of. Like we're trying to set up a time coming up to go on a road trip with the family, because we started listening, we'll listen to like various podcasts and things whenever we're on a drive. And one of the ones that we were listening to was talking all about specifically like Southern, not folklore, but kind of monsters and yeah, I guess it is folklore. So, but it was a whole mix of all sorts of stuff. And one of the storylines in it that came up was all about, I might have already talked about this story before, I don't recall. I've said it so many times. But one of the stories was talking about this crazy pastor who told all these people like, "Hey, like your seventh son is evil and you should kill them." And
I
in
think
the
you were
episode,
going, yeah.
talking about how a neighbor stopped him, and it was like, how does that conversation happen? And so we just created this huge epic storyline, and kids keep bringing up. They're like, we need to find out more about what happened to this insane character that we've just been slowly piecing the history of together based on random folklore of the South. And it's great. It's good stuff, man. But that's like that turns a 2 hour long car drive into 30 minutes, it feels like, right? When you're just having that kind of fun.
Well, okay, so I guess we're going to move this podcast in this direction because this is actually a really good topic. I mean, considering the fact that we've made multiple trips to different locations throughout my life with, my dad and my dad's buddy Mark or Ray or Colin, we'd always just make these long drives to different places. So it was let's find the next audiobook of Stephen King or some other scary story. So we're driving, there's horror stuff going on. Or we would listen to what was it, Art Bell right up with his stuff. And it's like he'll tell these stories. It's like, oh man, I gotta research this when I get home. Of course, this is way before the internet. So it's like, man, just the stuff just lives in your head. You're like, I gotta look this up. So like when you're 30, when internet's around, you're like, man, I remember this story, and you can't find it whatsoever to research.
Yeah, man. I mean, it really is that just folk tales, right? Folk tales are such a cool genre of story that it's one of those things where it's so close to real, right? That it's believable, but then it's just supernatural enough to be, otherworldly, right? And that's what makes them so interesting, right? That's what really kind of draws you in, because there is that relatability to the stories and to the experiences. And it's like the old fairy. It's like fairy tale. I mean, they are fairy tales, right? In a sense, like where else are you going to hear stories about someone who randomly finds a hole in their backyard that's bottomless, right? Mel's hole, I think, is one of the most popular books from coast to coast.
Yeah.
It's like, you just it makes no sense at all. And then I think at one point he called in and said there was like a seal that had human eyes that smelled of ozone. It's like all this weird descriptive nonsense that doesn't make any sense at all, but at the same time it's so weirdly almost
intriguing.
Believable. You're like, I'm invested. I want to know what this crazy human-eyed seal is telling this dude with a infinite hole in his backyard. I want to know what wisdom this thing is about to impart on us all.
Well, when you think about a hole in a backyard, my mind instantly goes to the movie The Gate, with the kids deciding to practice this ritual unknowingly to the what's going on. They sacrifice they bury a live body in there, the dog and all this other stuff, and it just happened to conjure up a demon. Man, like I remember there was one trip we were going and we heard about John Teeter, I think it was, the time traveler story. And that was interesting, listening to that one, because just some of the facts and things that were there, but then things that just didn't add up. But just coming back for a specific type of computer to be able to fix the timeline. I don't know. Would you we've already gone down this rabbit hole of what would you do if you could time travel or not?
I mean, there are photos out there from the 40s where it looks like people were talking on phones.
Oh yeah. What was it? Go ahead.
It's that just believable enough that you're like, yeah, it's totally what they're doing. That's absolutely what they're doing. There's no way that really is, but at the same time, it's like, no, I want that to be what they're doing, because how cool the concept of it is that, at any point we turn around and tomorrow we find out that there's time travel, right? It's like,
they had a project.
I still have yet to finish all the way watching that. I started watching it the other day, but I was absolutely exhausted and wound up falling asleep. The wife and son finished it and they enjoyed it. I just haven't gone back. I got like a third of the way through the movie where he was about to go back to meet his dad, and his wife was holding off the bad guys and all that stuff. I don't know if that's spoilers. I'm bad about that, but whatever. So
it's a movie about time travel. Just just watch it. So whatever we tell you, of course, it's going to happen. So it's like
the
why would you-
advertisements for it give a big spoiler.
yes, yeah, that is true.
That's all I'll say about it. There's a huge spoiler all in it, right? When you look at the preview for it.
So
Right.
the one thing about that movie, though, like it really hit me, and I think I talked about this too in like the previous episode or whatever, but that really hit me at two different levels: being the son and being the father.
Right.
So especially once you get to the whole father part, that really like hit me even more because there's some things that happen. I don't want to say it because it's. I really like the way they played it with time travel, and it was such a good movie that I'm sitting here talking about it again in 2 episodes already. It's just kind of fun popcorn flick with some deep thoughts and some ideas that I enjoyed a lot, and I had enjoyed it so much I watched it again with my wife and son, and they loved it. But what was hilarious was Anna was all, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say my favorite throwaway line is in the elevator. It says, "Bring your kid to work day. Only took you 42 years, but here we are." He goes, "Fair."
I won't say that's anymore. Let him see it because there's another one that plays off of that too. So
yeah,
but no, because for me it was being able to watch it again with Edward and Anna, they loved it. It was hard to get Edward to stay during the dumps of exposition, but when there was action on the screen, he was totally there. So
yeah, I mean, little kids, it's hard to get them to sit through exposition, right? You almost have to worry about the ones that are just sitting there listening to all of the talky parts. Like, wait, hey, no, man, I remember watching I watched what was it, Gregory Peck's Moby Dick all the time as a kid, and they're just I have certain moments of that movie just ingrained in my brain that has nothing to do with the whale. It has nothing to do with the whaling. In fact, the scene that sticks out to me the most from that movie is the very beginning before they ever even get on the boat and they get accosted by Elijah, the dude who's sitting there and he's like playing with the water in the top of the barrel as he's warning them against getting on the boat with Ahab and all that stuff. It was like, it's good. It's just thinking back on that, I'm like, how as a kid was I willing to sit there and just, I mean, I guess that's the sign of a good scene, a good delivery of lines, right? Whatever the case may be, that it just kind of draws you in to it. But it kind of also, going back to the folktale side of it, it's like that's at once upon a time, all we had was exposition dumps, right? That's all you got. Yeah, sure, you got descriptions of action, but at the end of the day, you read Beowulf and there's loads and loads of just nothing but him walking around talking and politicking and wandering the woods and all that stuff. There's a little bit of intrigue to it, but it's, I don't know, man. It's
been a long time since I've read Beowulf, but
I mean, all the old stories, all those old stories are it's a lot of walking around and describing experiences of things, and then you get to like a couple paragraphs of, and then they jousted and he was knocked off his horse and move on, the end. Merlin, yada yada yada, right?
Well, and then that brings up a whole thing too, is like you talk about movies back then that captivated an audience. You think about kids these days, my son included, they're so distracted by everything, and it's like if it doesn't grasp their attention right away, they're going to run away, and you got to get that hook. And sadly, most audiences are like that, where we got so much stuff going on in our lives compared to like 20 or 30 years ago, where everything was new, and everything new nowadays is only like 30 seconds. And then we're off to the next. Yeah. We're off to the next thing, and then you look at like, what is it? The technology we have right now is 40 or 50 years behind, depending on where we are really. If the if you look at like what is supposed to be said about like some of the technology we have for the government. Of course, this part of the episode is not going to go on here, but I'll just just that whole little line right there, because like what is it, Saren?
Here's where we go and dive into the conspiracy hole.
Conspiracy trolls, yeah.
We're around in there for a minute. Yeah, no, I mean it
doesn't matter. I'll still live it in there. It's just whatever.
But I mean, but again, it goes back to that some of the best ways to tell stories and to draw people into it is again that level of relatability, right? I mean, yeah, everybody loves good action, right? There's a reason why shonen anime has been like the juggernaut of anime forever, because every kid sees another kid like firing lasers out of their hands and stuff and being like, that would be awesome. Yeah, I want to shoot lasers out of my hands. So there's absolutely no relatability to that whatsoever. But at the same time, he's a school kid. He's dealing with this, dealing with that. Oh, and by the way, he slays demons in his spare time with a magical sword that he like pulls out of his forehead or whatever, right? Whatever nonsense is in this particular brand of shonen, which you can almost say anything, and I'm pretty sure
anything will work.
There's an anime somewhere out there that plays into it,
or it's on somebody's board to get done.
Yeah, to get done. Yeah, yes. Or we're going to be talking about right now. We're going to give some of the idea to make it. I don't know how many times Dad would complain about the fact that we came up with this thing like 40 years ago, and now it's coming up in the ethos. And for everybody to, Dad, it's because when you mention it, somebody else picks it up.
It goes out into the universe.
Yeah, if you don't document it properly.
Yeah, man. No, but yeah, back to traveling though. That was one of the biggest things, was always listening to different stories, and then like even the ghost stories. Those are the things that kept us like, because you could listen to a regular book and stuff, but it was the ghost stories, it was the horror stories, it was science fiction. A lot of, for us, it was Star Wars audiobooks going to different places, and it would keep us engaged. And then it was just like, we'll put on like music we want to listen to, and we'd sit there and sing. But we never did the whole thing of like, oh look, there's a car and this. I know we did it later on with our kids being older. I mean, us having kids, but Dad never really did that stuff back for us.
No, he liked to keep you guys engaged.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we did. Growing up, we actually absolutely did a lot of that with our family, of the not the books and all that, but I spy with my little eye something green, and on and on and on, right? And then I remember getting a Game Boy for the first time and just sitting there and playing on that. My brother also got one, but he couldn't play on it because he has horrific motion sickness. So just being in a car with him for any duration of time, it can get dicey depending on where he's sitting in the vehicle. So giving him something where he's doing this on, right? Just you're guaranteeing that some kind of bodily fluid is going to be spewing from an orifice all over the car at some point. But no, I mean, as I've gotten, with my family, we definitely listen to stuff like that. I don't know exactly why, right? It's not, I'm not intending for it to be, hey, yeah, let's go listen to horror stories. It's just, usually horror is quick, right? It can be quick, can be dirty, you can just get in and out, and it's an interesting little story that you can get out of it. I mean, you can do that with a lot of stuff, but for whatever reason, horror really sinks in with short fiction, right? It plays really well with short fiction.
And then you think about too is that it lingers with you sometimes. You listen to a story and stuff, and you're kind of in the moment of it. You listen to it, but like it's like a couple days later, while you're doing something else, that it like comes back. You're thinking about it. Then it's like, well, what if I was in that situation? What would I do? And then there's a couple of like Anna and Edward are two. I mean, Anna doesn't like scary stuff, but she can read scary stuff, but she can't listen to it or watch it. It messes with her. Edward's just too young at the moment, but eventually I know I can see those glimpses of that he's going to be a horror fan like the rest of his family. But I don't want to push the envelope just yet. I don't want to rip the Band-Aid off like my dad did. Then I have to worry about him with stakes and everything, trying to kill the vampire somewhere on the street. But no, because and there's a couple like YouTuber channels I watch that are like ghost stories, or they'll take stories that are from around the world of like events that happen and talk about the cases around them, the folklore and the possibilities what it could be. And they'll illustrate the scenes and stuff. They're not like motioned, but somebody takes the time to actually draw out what's going on in the scene and everything. But it's called at least the main one I listen to is Bedtime Stories. Really good channel. They do some really good stuff. I've posted it in the Discord and our Facebook group.
Yeah, I can give you one quick ghost story. I was teaming up with another local paranormal team. We had an investigation right here in town. We have this place called the 10 Star Shop. It's Clark Star 10 Shop. Okay, it's been there for over 150 years. Okay, so it's loaded with stuff. And the leader of the group and I were in this one room where they have a bunch of stuff set up. And I had an app going on my phone, and we had something come through communicating with us. And it was starting to give us pieces of information. So I said, all right, let's look in these books here for these ledgers and see if we can find a name. And we started through and we started digging up, and we actually were able to find the person we were talking to. And they got a message saying that they wanted a message passed along to their family, for resolve. We were able to help that ghost cross over.
Yeah.
But it was really cool because we just kept going around this square table with all this stuff, and the two of us were just back and forth finding all this stuff, and we were able to piece together this person's life quickly with what information they were giving us.
Yeah, I remember there's so many weird things that happened to us whenever we were younger, at least at Brandywood apartment and some of the other apartments we grew up at. Crazy stuff that I know I want to save for some of this stuff for actually around Halloween, but I just remember like stuff like when me and my sister would fight and like stuff would just start flying off the freaking the table or the bar. It's like, are we sitting like psychically doing this because we're so angry at each other, or is there something in the house that's making it act all weird? Man, there's just a lot of weird stuff that we grew up with that is creepy. David's like the odd man out. I didn't really have anything scary happen to me. You guys are crazy. I know what you're talking about.
No, I mean, we kind of touched on it last one, right? Like the closest I ever got was like dreams of things, right? It was nothing that I ever physically saw, experienced, interacted with when I was awake. It was in those weird waking moments, right? Where there's that feeling, that sensation, that, that object, that thing that for that moment is something else. And then, oh, wait, no, it's just the clock. Or, oh, wait, no, it's just the shadow of this thing cast on the wall, right? But it's you have those little momentary times in between that kind of freak you out, right? And sometimes it does feel very real, like, okay, you can almost see the thing that was there fade into what your mind is now seeing, right?
Yeah.
So it's and again, it goes back to that whole idea of that that just beyond the tangible side of it, right? That adds intrigue, that really draws you in, and like what you said, it sticks with you. It there's a remainder to it, whereas you're walking around the rest of your day and it just tickles the back of your mind, right? And you can kind of come back to it and start thinking about it some more. And not that it's terrifying or scary or freaks you out or whatever. It's just an intriguing little thing that nibbles in the back of your head that kind of grow, and you just start thinking about all the weird and crazy possibilities of things. And I mean, that's where stories come from, right? That's where all that generates from eventually.
Well, we had there was an apartment we lived in like before my sister was born, I think, that what didn't allow kids. Colin, you remember my dad and my mom living at some apartment like that?
If they were anything like that, it was really short.
Yeah.
I mean, that might have been one of their first couple of places because you guys got along pretty quickly.
Yeah. Well, we had this because I remember this one apartment complex that we had that had a living room, and you'd walk into the front door, you had the living room, right? And it would go off into the dining room kitchen. And then it had this kind of like a U shape, at least that I kind of remember. So when you came in, you went like to a bedroom, bathroom, and another bedroom or something like that. At least that's how my mind kind of projects it when I was.
I'm trying to remember because there was the apartment across from South Houston High School.
There's that one, but that
had the really long
yeah
kitchen, living room, and then everything went back from that like a T.
Yeah.
There was the house over by the mall. There was the Brandywood apartment.
There was the one off of Highway 3 over there with the park and everything. That's where I lost my cup. There was also one that we lived at that had like hedges in the front and everything.
Yes, and that would be the one where we broke the window from the inside and we had to hide it.
Yes.
But that was a tiny apartment. Holy moly, that was tiny.
So, but there was one apartment we lived in that had kind of like that U shape. It was like you came in and everything kind of like arced around or something like that. Like the front bedroom was parallel to the front door, kind of partitioned by a wall or something like that. But I know that I always hated being in that hallway, being really young. I think there was one time I was coming out of the bedroom and I felt like, a presence that was chasing me. And the only thing I can associate with was because we watched horror movies a lot, was like Freddy. I mean, that was like my young brain was like that, but I knew that wasn't.
Well, I mean, that's the funny thing, right? Like, I think that's like a common thing and I almost wonder what it is that plays into that, because I didn't watch horror movies as a kid, right? At all. But that same exact fear, right, of standing, because I would always, my parents would tell me, hey, you need to go to bed. And I wanted to, whenever I was going to bed, I had to walk down a hallway, and it was just a straight shot from like the living room. You walk towards the front door. Eventually there was a door on your left that led to a hallway that went straight towards where my room was, right? And they would always tell me, hey, don't leave the hall light on, and don't leave the light on in your room. And I could not, as a child, because the light switch was right as you walked into the hallway, walking towards my bedroom, light switch was right there. So it would be turn off the light switch and then have to walk through the dark all the way to my room. And I couldn't do it, right? It was like I would have to like build up to a sprint, and then as I was passing the light, hit it, and then just keep running to my room, because it was that, like, it was a tingling on my back, right? Yeah, so it's like I think that's just a thing that messes with everybody to a degree. Well, a lot of people just have that sense of you're in a hallway, there's darkness behind you, and it's almost like you can just feel that darkness for whatever reason, and it's that creepy, crawly ick feeling that just creeps up your back, and you're like, nope, I'm getting the hell out of here.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of it too is like we had so much weird shit that happened to us back then with a lot of weird stuff. There was, I mean, to not get into a whole lot of it, but I don't even know if I know we didn't talk about this podcast because I want Dad to be here when we do this part of the podcast, but I'll kind of give you a brief summary. Is that for a while there, because Dad doesn't mind talking about it, but he doesn't like talking about it at night. He doesn't like talking about it in his house. He'd rather be somewhere else, so he doesn't feel like that whatever it was that was bothering us would follow.
He's not
us.
inviting it in.
Yeah. So but I remember us being really young, like me being like 3 and my sister like or barely born, or she was 1 and I was 4, in this one apartment complex we lived in, and like my dad and my mom were asleep in their bedroom, and my dad just hearing voices. I mean, right now it wasn't voices, breathing. And both my mom and my dad, so they were hearing this, and it was just getting louder and louder. And then he heard me and Ember scream, or I was screaming. My sister was crying because she was, an infant at the time. And the closer he got to our bedroom, it was the breathing was like centered around our room. And when he tried to get into the room, it felt like there was this invisible wall. Like if you play in D&D, the gelatinous cube was just kind of like in the way. So every time he was doing, he felt like when he would try to move into the room, it was like he was just wading through water, like thick jello or water that he was trying to get through. And then he just had to like muster enough courage to run in there, grab both me and my sister, grab my mom, and get out of the house. And we didn't even stay in the house that night. But that followed that breathing followed us for a long time. It stopped messing with me and my sister and my dad, but it actually started messing with my mom. So I wonder if it was really kind of almost centered around my mom, because my mom did some weird things. And especially when you guys were role playing, and some of the other stuff I heard that dad told me. I mean, I don't know. It was just like weird stuff. And that's just like one instance. There was other stuff that we went through. And anytime I'm sitting, because it was so much of a traumatic shock and thing that happened to me and my sister and my dad and everything. If we're sitting in there and we hear a second voice, we'll stop breathing just to make sure that it's not just us. We're not just hearing our breath. Because if we hear a second breath, I'm out. I'm out of the house. Yeah, it's just completely gone. And it's just it lingered with us. I mean, I think it was like 3 or 4. I think 3 apartments we had that instance, and it wasn't like it was all the time, but like that first apartment was happening a lot. And then the next we went to, I think we even had it happen when we were in Brandywood at one time. I don't remember, but I think at least kind of feel that we had one there, because my dad would have told me about it. But after that, it didn't follow, whatever it was, because my dad would sit there and like, Colin, my dad was into all that stuff. You guys were all into that. And Uncle Gene was all into that, like researching all the haunted stuff, the occult stuff, not practicing it, just you were just
learning about
it. And I don't know how many times my dad would help families out with situations that were bad like that. And then because my dad had connections to the churches, he would go and get the church to send somebody over to bless the house. And that's what happened to ours. They blessed our house, but we still had the problems after that. But there was like an instance with a Ouija board that we'd had a hard time trying to get rid of. We never played it. None of us touched it at all. But I remember Dad got it from a family, and we had a hard time trying to get rid of it. Eventually, we finally were able to get rid of it. And there was a couple items we had like that we were trying to get.
Cursed objects.
Yeah. It was weird. I mean, you don't expect stuff like that. I'm not just doing this because I'm talking about the podcast. That stuff was scary as a kid. It's like, I guess, I don't know if that's just because of the experience that we have, that we were fascinated by it as adults. We like listen to it. So it's like, I don't have to deal with this, but I'll listen to somebody else who's got the problem. But
I mean, vicariousness, right? Vicariousness is definitely something that draws people in. I mean, that's, I've kind of thought about, why was that? The thought came to me over this past week where I was kind of considering sort of what we touched on before, where it was the difference between people who want to have lived experiences versus people who want to have, for lack of a better way of putting it, artificial experiences, right?
Mhm.
So it's I'm willing to spend money on a board game or a movie or a game console so I can experience these fantastical type stories through that means, whereas someone else says, no, that's wasting my time. I'd rather go spend it to go on a vacation to, you know, the
Yeah,
Colorado
Bahamas.
Rockies,
Yeah.
climb
Yeah.
a mountain, or go to the Bahamas and see this, you know, great big crystal beaches, all this stuff, right? It's like, it kind of makes me curious, the people who are more towards that line of thinking, right? Of, do, you know, what is that, what is, do they have moments where they are trying to, they are curious about others experiences, in the sense that I just kind of want to know what that experience is, not necessarily need to run out there immediately and go do it, right? I don't know. It's still a half-formed thought in the back of my mind that I'm mulling around in, but it's that difference in just that difference in the way people's minds work. Of, some of us enjoy the idea of something that we can see and kind of experience or read in some level, and see it, but it's never going to be a possibility for us. And then those other people that, no, actively, I want to only have experiences that are mine and I can have, right? So, I mean, that's why a lot of people do listen to like true crime or the paranormal stuff. Some level, most people do not want to have the kind of experiences like what you were just describing, but like what we said earlier, it puts them into that mindset of, how would I react? What would I do? What would that be like? That vicariousness to it, right?
Well, and then, like, a lot of people, you know, sometimes you don't get the opportunity to experience things, you know, whether it be life just kind of takes you on a different path and you just may not have the funds. You know, sometimes you're born with defects and you just can't travel. You know, you could be sick. There's a lot of different reasons why you can't do certain things. So
Right.
you find alternatives to fill that void that you wouldn't have otherwise. For me, and I'd love to be able to go take Edward to Disney World or go anywhere with him. It's just perfect time for him to be able to experience that stuff. But of course, right now it's just a lot about funds, you know, not having the money to be able to do that stuff, you know, and not including the current events of things that are going on right now, as far as gas prices and things like that. But still, you know, you want to experience those things. And sometimes you feel like you have missed opportunities. But that's where, you know, we, as us growing up, we found other ways to fill those voids. We found ways to experience things without having to pay the money for it, or to go travel. You know, I don't know how many times we'd go to the park and we just do whatever we wanted to do, like water gun fights with water grenades and or water balloon grenades and stuff. And
Yeah, free range,
yeah, just
free
like
range fun.
going to the park. I mean, going outside into the woods.
Go and do.
Yeah,
Yep.
just, or we would do the hikes up in San Antonio. With Ray and them. There was a lot of things that we used to. I mean, there was a stint where we've talked about this before, but where we decided to have firework wars. We sat there and, like, my dad and Ray and them were sitting there like figuring out how to make missiles and all this other stuff for the firework war we were going to have on the 4th that year. And because Ray's one of Ray's best friends growing up, Russell, had a place out in Freeport, and just huge lot, a couple acres that he had. And we just played this giant, like, we set up bases. But I just remember, like, us going out to the fields on the Beltway, like when they were like just fields, and test launching rockets and stuff, and styrofoam, the aerodynamics and all this other stuff, just to see what we can do. And we came up with all this stuff, and then they bought all this fireworks and customized stuff. We had this amazing firework war. Somewhere there's a VHS tape, and we're probably never ever going to find it, had the whole battle on tape. It's really cool. But like, how many people get to do that stuff? Of course, it was dangerous as hell.
Oh,
Oh my
that was the
gosh.
80s.
I
Man,
mean,
that was the 80s.
yeah, the
That damn near exemplifies it. If you had rock music playing in the background, that pretty much would exemplify the 80s right there.
yeah. I mean, we did some crazy stuff. And to think about it, I was probably 8 or 9, maybe almost 10 years old whenever that happened. So, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about my son. I would never have my son being able to do that stuff. He's too young. He's not there to. I haven't instilled the things that he needs to be able to handle that. And plus, he's young enough. I don't need him to do that. You know, he doesn't need to worry about those things, at least right now. But yeah, it just we experience different things through different mediums, and sometimes finding outlets. I mean, that's like me growing up. I wanted to have an adventure because of the people I grew up with. I wanted to go fight a dragon. I wanted to go save the princess. I wanted to go save the world. I wanted to do all these things. And so I had like all these dreams of things I wanted to accomplish. But you know, playing video games, it allowed me to have those dreams. Because even though I was playing Cloud going through Midgar, I was the person controlling him. So I went through that experience. And that's just like everybody else. So
and you get to die and try again without actually dying.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Let's redo that over and over again.
I'm gonna drop a phoenix down and bring myself back to life.
Yeah, yeah, man.
But,
And that's where and that's where I think I like one of the first things that a lot of games whenever they're coming out, and we've kind of gotten away from it sadly a little bit, except for like a handful. But man, whenever it was like, oh hey, character customization, it was like, all right, I can make a horrible, doesn't even remotely look like anything like me, even though I sat here for 3 hours. And then
to make yourself, yeah.
like you think you've got it down right, and then you like turn, like you get in before you have games where you could like turn the head and see yourself from all different angles. You get into the game and then it like there's a side view and your nose is like all weird, your eyes are sunk halfway through your skull, and you're just like, wait, what? No, what happened? Shit, I need to go back and what were all the things that I set it to, and I need to redo it all again and make it right. Shit. So
that was one great thing about Fallout, the Fallout series, was that you could just go back into one of the doctors and stuff and change your appearance to plastic surgery.
redo it.
It's like, could you imagine having plastic surgery in the post-apocalyptic world of Fallout?
You like that scene from Batman '89. You see what I have to work with.
Oh man. But let's segue into this, and it kind of goes into that, because I used to have this because I grew up with Godzilla and other kaiju movies. Godzilla was the man. I remember going to see 1985. He is still the man. I know. But I'm thinking past tense of like me back then as a kid.
I got you. I was just messing with you.
So I get you. It's all right. But with watching Godzilla 1985 in theaters and everything, and crying because Godzilla fell into the lava, and I'm thinking he's dead, and it's like not thinking that he's a radioactive monster that can survive the temperatures of molten rock. He's just going to go to sleep, which he did. And he wakes up and fights Biollante. But I remember like you'd hear those sonic booms outside because of the airplanes going by.
Yeah,
because we weren't that far from
Ellington?
Ellington, yeah. And you would just hear this boom, boom, and I'm like, is Godzilla coming? What am I gonna do? I'm gonna run outside and go, hey, Godzilla, and probably die of radiation poisoning. Hopefully he doesn't step up, you know. So it's funny how your mind plays tricks on the information you have and things you experience.
Well, the funny thing, like with Godzilla, I didn't even start with the Hesse series, like era of Godzilla. The Godzilla movie that I watched probably the most as a kid was actually, I think it's considered one of the worst ones by a lot of people, is Ebra, right? Is it Ebra? The giant lobster.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
The
yeah.
giant lobster that they summoned to the island by throwing a bunch of banana juice in the ocean, and then it ends with, I mean, the ending is fantastic, right? Where like
Yeah.
they have that whole underground facility and it's collapsing in, and the one dude's going over there to try and hit the self-destruct sequence to blow the whole island up, and then Godzilla's got to try and like very awkwardly run to the edge of the island and jump off before the whole thing explodes. It's like the other monster in the movie was almost completely pointless. Like Godzilla gets into a fight with it, immediately rips its claw off and beats it to death with it, and it goes away. And the rest of it was just all about the weird tropical island and the horrible things that were happening there.
Most of the Showa era stuff was always about Monster Island or on some kind of island off of Japan and off the coast or whatever. And I mean, I grew up watching those as well. Like my favorite back then, of course, it's not the greatest, was the Godzilla versus the Smog Monster, and the whole 70s. Yeah, just that was a fantastic for me. But then you think about, what was it? Son of Godzilla, and you got Baby Menya and him all trying to teach him how to do his radioactive breath, and all he can do is the radioactive donuts.
Yeah.
Man, Showa was so weird.
Yeah.
And it's funny you mentioning Biollante, because that, like, to this day, I think the Godzilla versus Biollante is my favorite of the Heisei series, just because Biollante is such a unique and weird monster, right? For Godzilla to fight. And like the whole backstory of it, that there was a contest, somebody got to design it and all that stuff. So I think that kind of plays into the reason why it is so different than all the others that he kind of deals with. And the whole concept of it being the soul of the one doctor's daughter that got infused into the plant that got exposed to the Godzilla cells that then became the creature and all that stuff. It was such a cool and interesting take on that whole formula that eventually led us to Space Godzilla and then Destroya and Red Godzilla and all the other goodness, right?
Yeah. Well, and then you think about too is the fact that originally the plans for that movie was going to be the whole Godzilla versus Mecha Godzilla, but it would have been Godzilla versus a supercomputer that changes into Mecha Godzilla, which is kind of where they went with Biollante. It starts out as this plant and then mutates into this giant, huge rose, and then mutates even further into what we got with Biollante. Yeah, crazy alligator with rose tentacle monster faces, like it was out of the Thing.
It was so cool. And
yeah, it was fantastic.
It was tearing up Godzilla for a minute there, right? Just spiking him through his hand. And so the Godzilla theme, right, hits so hard in that movie, because it's, they're sitting there and they detonate the bombs to blow up volcano to make them come out. So it's just, that style of Godzilla, the cool, more realistic as compared to the incredibly campy, round-faced Godzilla of the show area. So that's where, like, for me, that's the Godzilla, right? Him coming up out of the volcano, the freaking Godzilla theme just thumping as it's going along. It's like that moment of that movie is so iconic and so good. But yeah,
it's so fighting not to do his whole theme song right now, but would just I don't know how.
I want it. So whenever my daughter was very young, she thought she liked Godzilla movies, but going back to the whole thing about exposition and all that, she likes the idea of Godzilla, but much like everyone seems to forget, Godzilla movies are actually like 80% people talking. And then like there's 20% actual monster fighting sprinkled throughout, right? So we sit down to watch these movies and she'll sit there and she's like, "Where's Godzilla?" I'm like, "Well, sweetie, we got like 30-40 minutes before he's showing up. Sit tight, it'll be good.
Just sit tight. You'll love this action drama event. Like in, what was it? in Biollante, it's the whole the super spy with the sniper
Yes.
trying to steal the vials
cells,
of the Godzilla cells. Yeah,
it was awesome. It was again, it's so weird and out there, but it's great. And I'm trying to remember, is Biollante the one where they run into the oversized tick monsters on the boat, or is that
No.
85?
That's 85.
That is 85. Okay, yeah.
His
But
sea
again,
lice. Those are supposed to
yes,
be sea lice. Yeah.
giant oversized sea lice that just wipe out a boat. And that's one of the things that never really gets played up on really well in any of the Godzilla movies. Is here you have Godzilla and all these other random giant kaiju. What about the other slightly smaller but also would be gigantic creatures that would
Oh.
technically come into play, that would just
Any-
slowly start to decimate? Like, hey guys, we're being overrun by giant plankton. Don't know what to do about it. It's just they're out there and they're destroying all of our ships and naval, and naval bases, and we can't do nothing about it.
No, what you need is like giant, prawns or shrimp. It's like everybody's gonna have a party after that. It's like you take them all out, and it's like, all right, we want shrimp for shrimp for dinner for a couple days.
And that's why Godzilla beat that crab monster to death, because he realized there wasn't that much butter available for the claw.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. See, he took one bite and was like, and it was because it was covered in all that weird banana sauce. And he's like, banana doesn't go with seafood. What is wrong with these people?
And got mad.
And just beat it. Yeah, absolutely. I never picked up on the subtleties of that particular plot line. So I'm glad that we've been able to come together and establish this.
Yeah,
I need
exactly.
to go back and rewatch that movie and really let it sink in, the absolute hate for mixing of banana and seafood.
How many times do you have to hit it with atomic breath to cook it from the inside? And then
Right. But again, if you don't have the right, you don't have the
Seasoning.
right, right condiments, the right sides for it, it's useless.
Yeah.
And
It's
you never know what
unfortunate.
radiation does to it. I mean, you can microwave a crab. Will it come out great? No, it'll probably pop it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and on top of that, right, just like it's like French fries. After you microwave them, they're not quite as good. Like certain
Yeah.
foods, if you microwave it, on the other side, it's like it's not as good if I just cooked it in the oven, like reheated it in the oven or whatever.
Yeah. Mhm.
So what's the atomic breath actually doing to Godzilla's food sources? Is it like, because what, microwaves destroy some of the nutritional value? Is that what's happening to Godzilla's food? If he's not just swimming through the ocean eating entire like schools of fish
Yeah.
all together at once, if he's actually going out there and microwaving his food with his breath, is he destroying the nutritional value of it? These are questions that I expect to hear about in Shin Godzilla 2.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you can think about also is the fact that when in some versions of Godzilla, it's not really radioactive breath, it's like his radioactive bile, so he's like a fly a little bit, so maybe he's giving it a pre-digested juices to be able to eat it later.
I mean, if he can be recharged by a nuclear bomb, then maybe eating that radioactive food,
he's fine with it, man.
A little bit of yummy with it, a little bit of recharge. Hey, it nutrients.
Look, this Toho needs to sit down and really like dig down deep and give us these stories about oversized Godzilla lice and exactly what the nutritional value of the food that he eats and what he does to eat it. These are questions that need to be answered.
That's
and
right.
I will be very upset if the next Netflix Godzilla series doesn't start hitting these hard-hitting questions
of what does Godzilla eat and how does he
answers.
get his nutrients.
That's right.
Well, back in the day,
I want a moment of Jeff Goldblum from The Fly, but with Godzilla, where he just grabs something and just vomits all over it, and you watch as it dissolves, and then they try stumbling away.
then he grabs a straw, or actually he grabs one of the radioactive the pipe towers with all the gases coming out and goes,
there you go.
So right up.
Absolutely, man.
No, because back then it was like, in the Showa era, it was him going in to the radioactive places to get drunk, and that's what he was eating.
Oh, friggin' Showa, man. Showa is so weird. I need to go back and rewatch those though. But
we should do a watch party.
Yeah.
I got to get to work right. I can.
Yeah.
But
If not,
honestly,
we'll figure it out.
honestly though, I keep this genre specifically is one that I've never plumbed very far. Like for instance, probably the other main Japanese kaiju, at least that comes to my mind when I think of it, is Gamera.
Mm-hmm.
And you show me Gamera, I know it's Gamera. It's the weird turtle that flies with, rockets spewing out of its shell and all that stuff. I have never I don't think I've ever seen a Gamera movie all the way from beginning to end. And I've always heard that like the Heisei series Gamera is great. The reboot that was done
early 2000s,
like in the early aughts was really good. It's like I want to go and watch these just because it's one of those kaiju that I've seen it referenced and around forever, but I've just never sat down and actually watched any of his movies.
I have them all on Blu-ray, so you can always borrow them from me, or if we do like a watch party, like I said, that'd be fantastic. If I can ever get my Discord stuff to work, I could probably stream it that way. So
there's got to be another way we can do it too.
Yeah, there's got to be another way because it's well, I think there is a way because you're supposed to, you can stream to Discord like when you're playing a game. So maybe if I hook up my PS3 or PS4 and put a Blu-ray in and I stream it that way, maybe it'll work because it thinks
that could work.
It gets dicey on the all the copyright stuff, right, man? Like,
well, if you're doing it privately, then
it's private. Yeah, privately is not a thing. We're not.
If it's Discord, it's private.
Yeah,
we're not talking about putting it on Twitch and all of a sudden we got 500,000 people watching a movie with us.
Yeah,
which would be fun.
Which would be amazing.
That's what all the Twitch stuff was happening here recently. But like I was telling Colin, there's supposedly a function on Twitch where a bunch of people can rent the movie and then it'll like stream it all together on all the people that are on the platform at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So all the people that have rented it are able to sit there and watch it in time with each other and kind of comment on it and all that stuff. And it's not the other thing where it's just one person putting it up on their channel while they're, sitting there and they're just commenting over it and everybody just gets to watch it free through that. It's actually everybody running the movie at the same time, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's like, Mystery Science Theater 3000 with just 3,000 people watching.
Yeah.
There you go. Hey, that's good times. But
you're like Rocky Horror Picture Show multiplied by 1,000.
Yeah.
That's a lot of what is it, time warp, right?
Yeah, everybody's all singing the same thing at the same time.
All right, now let's go with that, and let's go a little further with that. Okay, let's go down the rabbit hole. All right, now hear me out. Kaiju movie reenactment. Take the concept of Rocky Horror Picture Show and do it for kaijus, for the Godzilla movies. Somebody comes in dressed as Godzilla. Somebody comes dressed in as whatever monster it is he's fighting. You got all the people running around. You got debris falling everywhere. The whole immersion experience.
So the one thing I think that you'd need to try and figure out, the most important thing that you need to try and figure out is how are you going to achieve Godzilla's flying, tail gliding drop kick in, what was it, Godzilla versus Gigan? Right? Is that the one where he pulls that weird ass move?
I think
like how do you pull off the wire foo in those moments? I can be done, and I'm all for it. Absolutely. But
that would be later on once it's evolved and it starts bringing in money.
Exactly.
Okay, I got you.
Then you can get wiring harnesses. You can get that stuff.
So when it happens though, whenever any kind of wiring move happens, everybody has to shout out wire.
Exactly. It's like when you have scenes with Gamera. Okay, you can have somebody running around in the Gamera suit, but on the scenes where he's flying, you just get one of those oversized frisbees and have somebody throw it. And say frisbee.
And put some fireworks on it,
I was about to say, going back to the fireworks, you just put fireworks on it and throw it.
And just throw it. And everybody yells, and yet everybody yells something with it at the same time.
I like it. I'm down. I like this. And then by doing that, you can start doing all the crossovers that everyone has wanted to see, like that horrible Frankenstein movie versus Godzilla.
Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's a lot of makeup to put on. It's one thing to put a suit on, but then to make yourself look like that horrible Frankenstein.
Well, you just get a really bad costume from Walmart and you just beat the
Yeah.
crap out of it, and then paint it up, and then put it on.
One of those old
Yeah,
school kids masks that you used to put
Yeah,
on.
that's all it. That's all it is. I mean, because we've been to many Rocky Horror reenactments. There's only a couple of groups that get it right. The rest of them are like, you got Frankenfurter who's like 300 pounds. What? What is that? You're just like,
artistic license, I think is what that is.
yeah, fine.
Could you imagine somebody dressed up as Godzilla with the Frankenfurter costume on top of the suit?
Now I want that.
Again, all of the
now I want that.
Someone please draw this. Please draw this. Please draw
If anybody-
Godzilla as Frankenfurter from Rocky Horror Picture Show.
If you're good at animation, animate it. Have him sing one of the songs from the movie.
Yeah.
That's
Again,
Godzilla singing "Sweet Transvestite."
Damn it, Janet.
Oh no!
It wouldn't be Janet. It'd be damn it, Mothra.
there you go. But yeah, it's
folks.
like
We have
Have
completely
King
gone
Kong
off
be
the rails.
Meatloaf's character.
No, we're still-
Now we're getting somewhere. Now we're getting somewhere. Okay, do kaiju version of Rocky Horror.
Yeah.
Okay. Rocky Horror
right
show.
now in this episode. It is the guy.
This is ours. This is our shit. Okay. You get Godzilla, you dress him up as Frankenfurter. You get King Kong to do Meatloaf's part. You get Mothra to be Janet. You get Rodan to be
Brad or
Brad. Now the thing is, we got to find somebody really. Okay, let me back that up. Either King Kong to be Meatloaf's character, or to be what was his actual name? I'm drawing a blank. Rocky. We'll go.
Oh yeah, Rocky. No, you have Rocky as Ghidra because of the fact that he's created by the alien, so he's created by.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that works. There you go.
And then you could have oh man, who
Who would be Riff Raff?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to think.
Gamera could be Riff Raff.
Well, if we're gonna stick with just if we're gonna do all kaijus,
Okay.
out Rocky Horror or just the Godzilla era. So,
Well, no, okay, yeah, you're right. Let's go with all kaiju. Let's really open it up. Riff Raff could be the I don't know if they ever gave it a name. Cloverfield.
Oh, the Cloverfield monster. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gotta have a name somewhere out there.
oh man, who else?
And then there's Riff Raff's other half. I am so bad at this tonight. This is what I get for sleeping 24 hours.
That would do it, man. Absolutely.
Oh, I was telling Vinny earlier. I came home from church last night around 8:30. Climbed into bed. Didn't get out of bed till 7:00 tonight. I felt like garbage.
Yeah,
Just all day. But so the concept is there. It'd just be a matter of matching up
for who would fit the roles. Dang it.
Yeah. Vinny, I sent you a couple of lists on the Facebook group.
Okay.
The second one is the top 15 kaiju movies.
All right, let me pull that up real quick.
I'm pretty sure like 3/4
because it goes outside of the
Godzilla movies, right?
Well, there's several Godzilla movies, but it goes beyond that. It covers a couple of other ones that I remember hearing about but never have seen.
Okay, so the 15 most badass kaiju monsters of all time. All right. Wow, there's a burger. Okay. Number 15, Rodan.
I wonder if we could bring that up without copyright issues.
Yeah. Well, we'll just go through here. I might just add some pictures or something.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking at the 15 best kaiju films ranked. Is what I'm
Okay,
looking
well,
at.
we'll do that then. Let me get out of this one and we'll do that one.
Because there's one, number 15 is one I do not remember.
Okay, so the 15 best kaiju films ranked. All right, so. Oh, wow, yeah, I remember this. The giant. Okay, so number 15 is the giant claw.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that's
I do not remember that.
Yeah.
Wasn't that Harryhausen? Is that one of his last ones or no?
Let's see.
Let me see.
Fred F. Sears, The Giant Claws, are truly a sight to behold. So it's Fred F. Sears, whoever the hell that is.
Yeah. So what? Leading AFO sighting.
I think I'm thinking of Q. Q, the Winged Serpent. I think might have been Harryhausen.
Of course. Okay. So let's move on to the next one. So number 14 is Godzilla King of the Monsters 2019. That's a really nice picture of Godzilla there.
Yeah, it is.
And then number 13, which I haven't actually seen, which is Colossal.
Yeah, I remember hearing about it, and Anne Hathaway is basically controlling it, but that's all I know about it. Okay. I remember seeing the trailer for it, but I've never seen it, so that could be one.
Yeah, it's definitely something we need to.
That would be on the list of party stuff.
So we definitely need something the dad wanted to do is that we need to do okay. I just want to state this. Gaming and movies, comics and everything, all this stuff is all my life. I'm not just a retro gamer. I'm a film buff. I love anime, and we may focus on more movies because that was like the passion that we had. It was like you could like sit down for 30 minutes to 3 hours, depending on the movie, to be able to watch whatever. And
yeah, or like our weekends when we weren't gaming, it was movies.
It was movies, yeah. Or going to
if we weren't going to the arcade or one of the malls, it was movies.
Mm-hmm. So we definitely need to do some episodes where we watch a movie and review it, give our takes on it, and then like kind of like a book club, but for movies.
Hey, I'm down with that.
So definitely that needs to be on the list. I want to watch that.
Okay, so when you go back to edit it, make note of these things.
Yeah.
See.
Well, I have it on.
Okay, also put in the Discord watch party as a topic.
Okay. Yeah.
That way, if anybody else wants to contribute one, that it would be good for the whole group.
Yeah. Okay.
Like if I like the next one after actually it's like 2 down from there. There's like another one in there that I don't remember, or I know about, but I haven't seen.
Okay. Well,
either way, but
yeah, let's get down the list, and then we can go from there. So number 12 is Gamera, the giant monster, which I remember seeing.
Right.
Come on, man. My favorite animal back then, kind of still now, was a turtle.
So, right.
Flying turtle. This is fantastic. Number 11 is King Kong 2005.
That's the one with Jack Black, if I'm right.
Yeah,
Peter Jackson.
Peter Jackson.
Yeah.
Hey, at least it's a Peter Jackson movie that didn't take place on 2 discs.
Hey, there you go.
I'm sorry, David. I'm sorry.
You know what, man? You don't know that for fact. All right. The extended cut of that movie could very well exist somewhere out there on 2 sides.
Okay. Hey, if anybody's out there listening, let us know if the extended cut for King Kong
exists.
Well, no, it is, but that it takes place on 2 discs. So you can't.
Or one disc you have to flip over.
Yeah, one place you have to flip over.
Yeah. Bastards.
Another thing too is about this is the fact that Weta had a lot to do with like the designs for that movie, and it was fantastic. I mean, that movie was fantastic, and it actually touched on things that were in the original book and the original or the movie. Because there was parts of that movie that came out. I mean, when that movie came out, that were cut.
Right.
And it was kind of cool to be able to see those recreated for Peter Jackson's movie. I know my dad loved the hell out of that movie and was getting booked for it and just researching all this stuff because that's one of his favorite kaiju movies. It was a big influence on him when he was younger, just as much as Godzilla was for us or for me.
I dare say Kong is one of his favorite kaiju overall.
Yeah. So number 10 is Cloverfield. So I think his name is Clover. I think is what the creature is called.
Let's see. It tells the story of unusual full format. Giant monster attacked.
Yeah, but that was a great I mean, kind of one of the first movies I remember besides like Blair Witch that was kind of the found footage type feel movie.
Right.
And was very well executed for like the CGI. You really kind of felt for the characters as they were going through this. And it's funny because the main character, the not the main character, but the character behind the camera was named HUD.
Yeah.
Heads up display. That was funny, like how many people did not catch that when we first saw it. Come on, guys, really? You didn't pay attention to that? That was funny. But
Yeah,
just the scene, just that scene, even in the trailer, like when they come out on the streets of New York and they're looking, and you just see the freaking Statue of Liberty head just roll down the street.
Yeah.
And then freaking out. Man, that was like one of those like epic movies, just like to experience for the first time.
Yeah. J.J. Abrams, he knocked that one out of the park for me.
Yeah.
That's still one of my favorite all-time kaiju films.
It's great. I haven't watched it in a long time, but I need to. It's been a while.
I have it on Blu-ray. I didn't even bother getting with the DVD. I just went straight for Blu-ray.
Blu-ray on it?
I waited.
Number 9, Destroy All Monsters.
Yeah.
First battle royal kaiju movie of all time. Where the zillion aliens come and right? Is that one, right? Oh man, I'm like
getting fuzzy on Showa era Godzilla.
Yeah. I don't know. This movie was kind of like the whole you think about like parallel to back to kung fu movies and stuff with Bruce Lee and everything. He had all those great movies before he did Enter the Dragon, but Enter the Dragon was like a step above everything he ever did. Of course,
Right.
sadly, that was his last movie. And you think in parallel to that with Godzilla, he had all those other he had his first movie, then he had all the other goofy movies, and then Destroy All Monsters, which was a step above than the quality and everything at the time. All right, so number 8, which is a fantastic movie and the last movie of the Heisei era of
Destroyer.
Destroyer, or Destroyer, as some people say. I know how to for a couple of friends that say it's Destroyer, but fantastic movie, and actually that was the last movie we got until Godzilla 2000. And in my head canon, it's not really the case. And originally it was supposed to be that Godzilla 2000 was supposed to be Junior years later, because of the fact that the radiation dump that Papa G did when he melted down and Baby G absorbed it, mutated him even more. At least in originally what the plan was, but then they scrapped that and made 2000 his own thing. But in my head canon, they're connected. At least that's what I like to think. Anyway,
I mean, yeah, but also, Destroyer did such a good job of tying it back to the original, right? By making the creature be a direct result of the oxygen destroyer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was just a cool way to bring the whole series full circle back to basically, what the original was going on about with weapons of mass destruction and all that stuff.
Yeah, and at that time, Godzilla was the biggest he had ever been in any of the films, was when he was about to have his nuclear meltdown.
And let's kill him, everybody.
Yeah. Okay. This next one, number 7, fantastic movie.
I've never seen it.
Love this movie. When this movie came out, oh my gosh, I don't know how many times like me and Dad were like, hey guys, you can come over and see it. And I think it was David, not you, David, but our other brother, David Vo, that actually introduced to this movie. But The Host. That was a fantastic movie. That was it. That dude trying to protect his daughter.
I think The Host was the first of, because it was like I remembered hearing about The Host, and I remembered seeing it. I was like, oh, is this a Japanese flick? And no, it was Korean, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the first. So, yeah. I think that was the first movie that really started making me realize how like awesome Korean cinema was getting, right? Like, just because shortly after that, it was whenever is the man from, I think the Man from Nowhere is Korean as well. I started finding more and more of these little films, and I started watching them. I'm like, oh, this isn't. It's not Chinese. It's not Japanese. It's like,
No,
oh, it's Korean.
no,
And
it's
this movie and
Korean
that
cinema.
movie, I start getting into stuff like and then just most recently, what was the last thing I watched? That was Korean. The Wailing, I believe, is Korean as
Yeah.
well, and that is an amazing movie, right?
Yes,
Like
it is.
everybody always talks about Train to Busan and all that stuff. Man, if you haven't seen The Wailing, you need to go see that movie. That's such a damn good movie.
It
And
is.
they've just been knocking out of the park. And yeah, The Host absolutely was one of the first ones that I saw that started making me realize, man, Korean filmography is getting really good. And another really good Korean like giant monster flick that's more of a period piece that I saw on Shudder was called Monstrum. If I remember right.
Okay, yeah,
And that was,
I've seen the trailer for it. I haven't watched it yet.
it's not as good as The Host, right? I'm not saying it's as good as The Host. There's but what that movie does a little bit better. So with the it's if anything, I would say it's almost a complete opposite of The Host, where The Host is like, okay, opening 5 minutes of the movie, giant monster, right? It's like they get that monster right out in front of you almost from the jump. Whereas Monstrum, it's more playing into the kind of psychological stuff that goes on with. In this case, it's kind of a commentary on government and fear tactics and control and all that stuff. And so it's really messing with your head as you go through the movie. Is the monster real? Is it just a fabrication? Is it, who is manipulating what about it? And it's a really cool little almost mystery movie all the way up through to the end whenever you finally get your answer, and then you get all kinds of good nonsense from it. But that was a good one as well. Again,
Well,
not quite as good as The Host, but enjoyable enough.
what's funny is there was a movie that came out here in the States, I think right after Godzilla 2000, but it came out, I think it was early, like it was like one of the first like kind of like really kaiju movies, I believe. No, okay, hold on. I'm taking that back. I'll take that back. Hold on. Because I think there was originally a movie that came out early 50s. Later on, yeah, it was like 94. I guess it wasn't after 2000. It was I just remember like not coming here until like later on, at least not me not seeing it, was Orochi, the eight-headed dragon.
Oh,
It was kind of like Ghidorah, another Toho, Toho movie.
Yeah, because Ghidorah is somewhat based on the old Orochi legend.
Well, I take that back. So yeah, I guess because it came out right before. So the movie came out in 94, but then it was released here by ADV with an English dub in 99. So
okay.
makes sense that my brain remembers it pretty close to when that came out. So but it was kind of a period piece. It was samurais dealing with this kaiju monster.
Wow.
I can only imagine what that would be like.
No, all right, that's got to go on the list too.
Right.
And then okay, so let's go back. So yeah,
Speaking of Ghidorah,
Host was fantastic. Yeah. So number 6, speaking of Ghidorah, or Ghidorah, the three-headed monster.
see now he's nice and golden there. He definitely would be a good Rocky.
Oh man. Okay, hold on. So if Rodan could be Meatloaf, I could see him flying in like he's flying in on the motorcycle.
Yeah, he just comes flying through the window and crashes into it.
Yeah.
And then when he's on the ground, he's hurt. He keeps flapping his wings, but he gets shoved into the locker anyway.
But I don't know if this is one of the. I doubt this is one of the first movies that we had like where the combination of like all the other monsters were starting to show up. But this movie had Godzilla, Rodan, and Mothra in it,
right?
And they were taking on Ghidorah, which is funny because of course the Godzilla 2019 movie was almost
King of Monsters.
Yeah, King of Monsters was just pretty close.
So I would argue that the better version of that particular team up fight is, oh damn it, oh no, my Godzilla movies are out there. It was in the Millennium series of Godzilla movies where Godzilla was actually back to being the villain, and he had completely white eyes, and I think the storyline was he was like the the souls of all the people that had died during the atomic explosions in Japan taken form now. And so there was like a weird temple dog like monster that he fought and just absolutely destroyed. And then the whole last part of the movie, they did a flip. Instead of Ghidorah being the villain, he was actually like the ancient protector of Japan. And so they had to cause Ghidorah to rise. And then it was Ghidorah and Mothra versus basically zombie Godzilla. And it is such a weird, batshit crazy little Godzilla movie. But just seeing that those roles flipped, where now all of a sudden Godzilla's the horrific, unstoppable, creature that's decimating everything, and Ghidorah is teaming up with Mothra to try and stop him.
Yes.
It's so weird, but it's fun. It was that's another good little one if you got time.
So you think about that too. My favorite all time team up of Godzilla though is always going to be Final Wars, which I'm hoping that's on here, because
I don't know. I don't think so. Like Final Wars is campy fun, but we'll see. They put Destroy All Monsters on there, but usually you're either a Destroy All Monsters guy or a Final Wars guy, right? Because they're kind of sort of
very similar.
It's just all out brawl, right? Let's get every single Godzilla whatever in this movie and just throw them at the screen and just start blowing shit up and go with it.
Brought to you by Vince McMahon.
Yes. Absolutely.
Which reminds me, we just had the passing of what is it?
Oh yeah,
Akira Torada.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make sure I say that right, because Torada.
Yeah, that's right.
And that he was very influential on like the movies I grew up watching. That guy has a long legacy. You think about when James Hung passes, he's been another one that was big influential in most of our lives. And I'm hoping that never happens, but it eventually will, unfortunately. But let's get off the depressing, sad news. And number 5 is going to be Gamera Attack of Legion, which was really good. Which was I don't know if this is the first one of the new Gamera stuff. Man, it's been so long since I've watched the Gamera stuff. I have them. I just need to watch them again, because that'd be great to introduce Edward to them. But yeah, this was the more Heisei era.
Yeah, when Toho started getting serious, right? And that's like you said, Heisei series, Gamera, I need to see, and then the even grittier reboot that they did afterward. I need to sit down and make my way through. Even like number 4.
Yeah, even of course, which I'm gonna get into. Before I go to the segue, there's the Mothra trilogy that was really good that they did, the Heisei era Mothra movies. I don't know if that's on this list, but yeah, segue into the fact of Biollante. That's number 4. Fantastic film, man. The effects in that movie, I just you think about this movie really took it up a notch. You're getting a little bit of CGI in the movie, just a little bit, but the set design, especially when you see the panoramic of Godzilla and Biollante in the background in that lake, and there's people on the side of the coastline, and they're just fighting each other, and the explosions. How much effort went into that movie? It was so beautiful.
Oh, dude, what about the poster? Like the poster for that movie, where it's little bitty Godzilla's dwarfed in the foreground of the massive monstrosity that was Biollante. That poster is such a gorgeous looking piece of art for a Godzilla cover. It was just so much love and effort went into that movie that it definitely deserves maybe a little bit more love than it tends to get. But
so, and what's funny is whenever Biollante is absorbing Godzilla, reminded me of the villain from 2000. As it absorbed more of and I can't remember what it's called. I was gonna look it up real quick, but I I would have known this name a long time ago. My brain's not here. I have other things I've just dumped into my head. But the more he absorbed, the more he mutated into being more Godzilla like.
Yeah.
But Biollante, of course, didn't do that, but it was just absorbing, Godzilla's essence. Which brings into the whole thing about that is the fact that, like, technically with Godzilla versus King Ghidorah or Mecha Godzilla,
right.
that brought in the whole thing of changing the timeline. And I still like to think that the parts of Biollante that are out there are what created Godzilla, Space Godzilla.
That's a theory, right?
Yeah, it's the theory. I mean, it works. Even though time travel was involved to change history, how much technically is time changed in the universe? I don't know. That's some physics and whatever. I'm a little bit beyond my brain here.
It's getting a little late to start talking about string theory.
Yeah, but let's get into Biollante was fantastic. Let's get into number
3.
Number three, of course, Shin Godzilla. Fantastic, horrifying movie. But it was also, this was directed by the same person who did the Evangelion series. So you can definitely see the influences. There's even shot-for-shot scenes.
But Godzilla didn't, shake Asuka in the hospital bed.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
That didn't happen.
But I'd like to see more the direction of where this one could go. I like the idea that this is technically the rumor is that this is the technically birth of the Evangelion series. That Godzilla was the start of the Angels and the first impact. Because if you look at the tail and how the creatures are coming off of them, they're going to keep mutating and everything. There's also that whole thing. I think there's a ride or something like Godzilla versus Evangelion or something like that in Japan or something.
It probably is.
Yeah. But yeah, I just like loved him mutating, but I hated like his final form where he's like all just completely crusted looking and he's got these little hands. I'm like, he didn't mutate right. But I can understand the way he was mutating. He was more mutating because of the fact that he was reacting to the attacks that were hitting him. So he was changing that way. So he wasn't using his hand as much. So those weren't being as deformed or as
developed.
They were becoming deformed because they weren't used.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I mean, even just that whole attack at like towards the end of the movie where he's all like,
so it is definitely the best atomic breath that
Godzilla
has ever breathed.
The back lasers and everything and all that stuff.
It was nuts.
I mean, Jesus, could you imagine the bill that Tokyo would have to go through? I mean, the Japanese government would have to go through to try to pay for restoring everything that was just destroyed by that beam that happened to be going all over. Because you got to think of it as like a rail gun, it's going to continue to move through, and the craters that would be in the ground from the blast.
Right.
I mean, the devastation and destruction that movie was pretty crazy. Okay, so number 2 is the movie that started it all. Godzilla 1954. Now, I've seen both versions, the original Japanese versus the Raymond Burr version, where he just happens to be they edited in black and white footage of him, documenting all this stuff. And
yeah, I can watch either version though.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, only because it's Raymond Burr.
Yeah.
I mean, if they'd gotten just about anybody else, it probably would have been unwatchable. It was Raymond Burr. I mean, big, super tall Raymond Burr versus little Japanese people with that deep voice. It adds a little character to it. you know. But of course, Emiko is easy on the eyes either way. But
Yeah.
that's
Well, you think too, you look at what you could have gotten Marlon Brando to almost portray that.
I don't see Brando doing that though. Okay, yeah. Okay, maybe Orson Welles instead of Raymond Burr might have worked.
Yeah, but
Solely based on the fact that he sold in War of the Worlds so well.
Correct.
But wait. So that's 1954. Okay, that'd still be Skinny Wells. All right.
Yeah.
Because if we're getting into like Touch of Evil Wells, no.
No. In 54, he could have easily sold it. You know, going a little off the reservation was kind of his wagon. You know, his wheelhouse.
Plus, man, just he is such a good voice. Just for
Yes.
like you could listen to him read the phone. Just listening to him in that commercial where he loses his shit is fantastic. Partly just because of, hey, it's Orson Welles' voice. This is great.
Oh man.
Oh,
yeah.
there is a website that does the text to speech. Let me pull it up for accuracy here, but basically it allows you to use a whole plethora of famous characters, both actors and anime characters and animation stuff like that.
Mhm.
So you can go in and type anything and have like SpongeBob read it, or let me
That's mildly horrifying.
well hang on let me see, where is it.
You have it where Godzilla reads it. It's just him going, ah.
I want to say it's called Uber Duck.
All right, hold on, guys. I love you, son. You going to bed? Good night. You look tired.
Yep. Uber Duck, one word.
Uber Duck.
Uber Duck.
You got to check that out sometime, Vinny. Uber Duck. Literally.
Uber Duck.
I was watching a video. How I found out about it is I watched this one guy Eliminate. I've talked about before.
Mm-hmm.
EM stuff. He started bringing. He's like, well, I'm looking for this narration piece. I wonder if I can find James Mason to read it. So he brought up Uber Duck and he typed it in with James Mason's voice. And then he did it like the guy from inside the actor's studio. I can't remember his name at the moment, but it was reading it out with their voice and everything. And it's just, it is so much fun.
Could you imagine doing like the intro for the show with that, whoever's voice I wanted?
Yes. I did one for Steve Harvey or with Steve Harvey because Julie watches a lot of his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's, hi, Julie. This is Steve Harvey. Thank you for watching my videos. And she's like, what the hell?
Yeah, you get into some legal gray area there with some of that if you were put it on a video, maybe.
Yeah, but just messing with family is perfectly fine.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, the impact that Godzilla had on the world was felt beyond just the movie itself.
Right.
And to have this at number 2 is kind of hard. I think it should be number 1. I mean, there's of course better action movies. I haven't looked at what number 1 is yet, but for the cultural significance of what was created because of Godzilla,
right,
the legacy that he left, I think should make it number 1 easily. But
I also, before we go on to number 1, I like the there was an episode of Legends of DC's Legends.
Mm-hmm.
Where they went back in time and they inspired the guy to name the creature Godzilla.
Oh, nice.
Mick Rory did it because he was designing this creature and he had some weird name for it. And at the end, Mick Rory goes, try Godzilla, and walked away. And the guy goes, Godzilla. And basically, so they inspired him to use the name Godzilla and reimagine the character.
That's fun.
It was a nice little Easter egg there, a little kaiju Easter egg.
No, that's awesome. Yeah. I mean,
right.
I wonder if like there's honorable mentions here that we could add to this, but some of the good ones have been on this list already.
And there's
but
number-
all right. So number one,
dun dun dun.
of course, this would be good for my dad. And technically, yes, I guess this would create the giant monster kind of feel, but like the kaiju in general, I don't know. It's kind of, but
It's a gray area.
it is a gray area.
Say it.
Say it.
Finish it.
Do it now. I'm right here. Come on.
Do it now.
Announce me. Could you imagine him doing the voice of King Kong in that movie?
I'm down for it. Oh, hey, we just need to get
and
we
we
just need to
Uber
get
duck
your Uber thing.
Uber duck.
Uber duck.
Uber Duck, yeah. We'll just write in dialogue and then just like edit it together.
Yeah.
Just dub over
your-
the entire.
Get your little planes away from me. Come on. Stop shooting
Yeah.
with those little pea shooters.
And then if you posted it, it would be as parody, and which is allowed.
yes, it is. That's true.
There you go. Fair use.
But yeah, fair use, yeah. So number one is, as we were stating, it's King Kong. And I understand it. 1933. I mean, you think about a movie like that, stop motion. Wasn't this like Harryhausen? Did he do the effects on this, or was it
Filmmaker Carl Denham.
No, I don't think it's Harryhausen. It's somebody. But I know there was
Willis
stop motion.
O'Brien.
Hmm?
Says second paragraph. Willis O'Brien.
Willis O'Brien. Yeah. For the time, those effects were amazing for stop motion.
Yeah.
Um.
I mean, again, he was a pioneer of it, in its own right.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean. But yeah, there's
apparently that Willis O'Brien guy was actually the mentor to Harryhausen.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
Okay, there's a tie-in right there.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, but yeah, you think about like, man, that's a whole other thing right there.
Yeah. Now the
like
other list,
Harryhausen, yeah, but oh man, that's definitely something Dad has to be on for, talking about the Harryhausen movies.
right?
Yeah. So going to the other list,
Now
um,
there's no pictures with it, but it's
no, there's no pictures with it, but I can find pictures. So
yeah.
The top 15 badass kaiju monsters of all time. Now, of course, number five. Number five. I'm already down like 10
Wow.
entries here. No. All right. So number 15, Rodan.
Enough said. Rodan's a badass.
Yep.
Not the greatest kaiju, but definitely can hold his own.
Yes.
I think they underplayed him in King of Monsters.
correct. They did.
They way underplayed him.
Yeah. And then number 14 is Kamunga, which should be the giant spider.
Yeah, that's it. I had to read it because there's no pictures. I
Mhm.
had to read the giant black widow spider. Then I remembered. Okay, and now I
Yeah, which is, we were talking about Son of Godzilla. That is funny because Godzilla's fighting these giant praying mantises on the island and everything, and they end up unearthing Kamunga in this like cave, and they would shoot this like yellow flashing web out like a rope, and it would
Oh,
just
yeah.
like kind of like float on them, and it would be like them all wrapped up in a spider web. All right, so number 13 is Mogera. Mogera.
that's what I'm thinking too.
Yeah. So this one is the one that was appeared in Godzilla versus Space Godzilla. He has the like drill for a nose.
It was like a little mole, right?
Yeah, but it was a giant
on his chest and all that stuff.
Yeah, he's a giant mech. Really cool design. Apparently, I think that was supposed to do more. It's like the Mecha Godzilla from the Heisei era was supposed to have like 3 different like vehicles that transformed all together to make the giant Mecha Godzilla.
That would have been cool.
You can actually find it online. There's actually a figure that came out that you can get. It's like $200. I really, really wanted it, but at the time I just had to pass it up. If I can ever find it and it be not too expensive, I'll definitely jump on it. But like it had like an aerial, like 2 different tanks and an aerial vehicle that combined together to make
That's cool.
Mecha Godzilla. And it was all based off of the original art design for the poster. All right, so next, number 12 is going to be King Kong. And this is going to be the Godzilla, King Kong versus Godzilla 1. Ugh, that movie's awful. He's awful. And, and Godzilla looks awful in that movie.
It's just schlock, man.
Yeah, it's just horrible.
Okay, so they're saying in this, apparently in the 33 film of King Kong, he was only 18 feet tall.
Yeah, he wasn't big. He wasn't that big.
So for this, they pumped him up to 145 feet.
Mm-hmm.
He started eating his Wheaties.
More like eating wheat fields.
Same difference. Might have caught a couple people in it. It was all right.
Yeah,
that was the frosting. That was the frosting. It was just blood frosting. It's fine.
Yeah.
All right, so number 11,
Space Godzilla.
My buddy's favorite kaiju monster, Jeff. Space Godzilla. Crystals on his shoulder pads. He's definitely ready for the 80s.
Man, he was ready for all the techno music.
Oh yeah.
I really wish this article still had the pictures.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time remembering this one.
So Space Godzilla?
Yeah, he's like red and blue.
Imagine Godzilla, but with like a rooster almost like fin in the middle of his head, and then giant white crystals that jutted up out of his shoulders.
And he's got crystals on his back.
Yeah, and then he's got crystals running down to his back, and then his tail is like a conglomeration of crystals, like a whatchamacallit, the Stegosaurus dinosaur, right? But it was made of crystals down at the end of his tail.
Yeah.
Okay then.
This next one I have no clue. Manda from Ultragon.
So he also showed up in there should be the flying dragon.
Ultragon?
No, Manda. Wait.
Because it says first appearance Ultragon in 1963, which I don't remember.
Sea dragon.
Yeah, he's a giant flying sea dragon. Yeah. He was the one that, and if you watch Final Wars, when they're using the ship, they freeze it and then fly into it with the drill and break and shatter it into a million pieces.
Okay.
Yeah. So then, of course, everybody's favorite kaiju dog, number 9, is King Caesar.
King Caesar.
First appearance in Godzilla versus Mecha Godzilla in 1974. Yeah, which is supposed to be should have been the second appearance of Mecha Godzilla.
I'm just reading the end of I'm reading the paragraph on him. King Caesar would make this list as a badass kaiju because he sounds like a blaxploitation tough guy or professional wrestler.
Oh geez. Okay, I just feel like this person wrote this list and just like didn't really kind of like, he's not really a fan, but he knows enough about it to put a damaging article together that has no point. Sorry, I don't mean to like the badmouth this guy. He probably is the one, but
I mean, look, we all know who number 1's going to come down to, right? It's going to be Godzilla. Godzilla's going to be number 1.
Godzilla, man.
Let's see here.
We'll see.
Okay, hold on. So we're getting up to the top 10. Let's see if we can before we get any closer. Let's see if we can figure out what the top 5 are. All right. So number 1's got to be Godzilla. I'm gonna say number 2 is Destroyer.
Yep. Number 3 or 4 is gonna be Mecha Godzilla.
I'll say 3 is Ghidorah, 4 is Mechagodzilla. Man, what would 5 be?
Gigan.
Mothra, maybe? Or we just go with the main 5 of
Yeah,
Godzilla
you
series?
could. Yeah. You could.
Is Gamera even going to crack 5, or are we about to see him here in a second? So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay. For me,
hey,
personally,
they could be throwing a curveball here too. We got Clover from Cloverfield, and
he ain't gonna be on there. He doesn't have superpowers, man. Like everybody that we're talking about right now is so okay. Me personally,
King Caesar
This
had
is
no
what-
abilities,
yeah.
but knew martial arts for some strange reason.
So this is again where I'm thinking they're going before we even get there. I think top 5 is going to be Godzilla, Destroyer, Ghidorah, Mechagodzilla, Mothra. That's what I'm guessing. Y'all got any guesses? Who you think so far what we've gotten through? Like we've already gotten Space Godzilla. We've already gotten some of these others. Who do you think is going to be cracking top 5 in this list? I mean, come on, Phil. Let's all take the free space. Godzilla's number 1.
Yes.
Unless you don't think they're going to put him number 1. Is it going to be one of those lists where they troll us right at the end?
Yeah, Godzilla can't be the king of his own his crown.
Right.
I couldn't think of the words, so I kept stumbling. Anyway, I don't know. We'll figure it out. Let's just
Okay. All right, let's go.
All right.
So
number 8 is Hedorah. So
the horrible,
smog
weird
monster
smog monster
that transforms that took place in the 1970s.
Oh,
Because we were polluting the world so bad that we created a monster that flew around. It released gas that killed everybody, or it looked like they turned them into frog people.
yes. Oh man, my top 5 is already busted. Damn it.
All right, number 7, Mothra. And for this Mothra one, they're doing the 1961 version.
You can change out one of your answers now, David.
Yeah, you want to get?
Hey, man, I'm already busted, and I'm busted on the next one too.
Jeez, let's get to the line. Wait. All right.
Oh,
all right.
sorry.
So number 6 is going to be. I thought this would have been at least in the top 5, but I don't know which version they're choosing from because
the OG one.
If this is the OG, okay, it's the OG one. I haven't looked down it. Yeah,
I'm sorry, it's 74.
74. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
when
number
chose
6,
the fake Godzilla.
Yeah.
Mechagodzilla.
So, and they do talk about Mechagodzilla 2, and then I don't know, like Super Mechagodzilla, yeah, Garuda, yeah. So he's lumping all of them together,
Right?
and instead of like actually going through each, because each version's different. So technically, those are 3 different versions of a kaiju that you could talk about. Because if you get into Godzilla, you got like what Shin Godzilla versus the Heisei versus the Showa, and then you have the Ots Godzilla.
Right.
Well, and then you have, if we're going to be talking about Mechagodzilla, this most recent Mechagodzilla from the last movie, OP Mechagodzilla's ever been in any movie, period.
Oh yeah,
this is how fast he was and all that. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Anyways.
Okay, number 5 is Megalon.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Godzilla versus Megalon, 1973. Yeah, I mean, Megalon's great, but I think Gigan's better. But that's just me.
Well, we haven't got to Gigan yet, so
yeah,
he might be.
So number 4, which I think should have been a little bit closer to 1, is King Ghidorah. And of course they do. So they're doing the first appearance. So I wasn't paying attention to that. I thought they were like listing a movie that they're pulling this from. So the Ghidorah, the 3-headed monster from 1964. Yeah, I mean, any incarnation of King Ghidorah is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
So
I'll continue reading because I'm good here. I'm looking at it from my phone, so I've got it muted. All right. So going on to number 3 is Destroyer.
So I got 2. I got 2 of the 5 out of what I guess. No, I'm sorry, I got 3. 3 of my guesses have been in, but I mean it's easy, right? Like Godzilla's got to be number 1. Destroyer had to be up there. Ghidorah had to be up there. So
Okay, this is from the 1995 Godzilla versus Destroyer.
Yeah, it's the only time he's ever appeared. I mean, I guess outside of Final Wars.
Yep. Which is
Okay.
great about Destroyer because he started out these little microorganisms and then he grew in the movie, always changing into different forms until he formed into what we saw at the end of the movie.
Okay. Going on to number 2. Gigan.
Here you go, Vince.
There's
Your
my
boy.
Gigan. There's my Gigan.
Gigan
Yeah.
from Godzilla versus Gigan, 1972. Alien Cyborg, Walking Death Machine.
His buzzsaw belly and his weird claw hands and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, and then
Steel scythes. Yeah.
if you watch him in Final Wars, man, he's got quadruple chainsaws on his hands and everything, and the chainsaw belly.
Yeah. And then he goes on to mention his Alien Cyborg private area. A little unnecessary.
A little unnecessary. And of course, number 1 is the king himself, Godzilla, right? So
Right.
makes sense. So I mean, out of all this, right? So this is all the old kaiju stuff. We kind of touched on Cloverfield with more recent stuff, and then what was it, Colossal the Anne Hathaway movie that's coming out, right? The movie that I feel doesn't get quite as much love as it deserved because it was just such awesome ideas that I wish had hit it off with the populace more was Pacific Rim, right?
Yeah, Pacific Rim
Who doesn't like
Pacific Rim.
The idea of just giant ass robots fighting giant ass monsters, and why have we not had more of that? I mean, I guess technically we kind of have that. When I was thinking about this whole topic, I actually came to the realization that the majority of the quote unquote kaiju that I've ever witnessed in my entire life has technically been all the monsters from Power Rangers. Because like every single one of them, almost every episode of the Power Rangers turns into Pacific Rim. It's a bunch of giant robots fighting some kind of giant monster in a big open, area in a cityscape and something. They're always fighting, and then it turns into pulling out a sword and doing some big epic attack and cutting something in half and being done with it, right? But
so I haven't watched the second Pacific Rim. I started it, but I never.
I did.
I want to watch it because I enjoyed the first one a lot. But
the second one was a bit of a disappointment.
The movie, a couple movie kaiju movies that we didn't talk about. Rampage, of course, was a make of a adaptation from a video game, but it was still a decent movie. I mean,
I never got to see it.
Loose adaptation, yes, it was a loose because originally they were humans that turned into monsters.
Yeah,
but there's a movie on here that I didn't even think about because I'm just looking at this list. Deep Rising is actually a kaiju movie. That giant octopus that they fight in that movie. And
I was about to say, depending on your definition of what giant is, man, you can start getting into all kinds of stuff. Like speaking of Deep Rising, there's a fantastic little comedy / horror movie that kind of deals with a giant monster, and it's called Grabbers. Have you ever seen that?
I've heard of it.
Oh,
dude, Grabbers a fantastic movie. It takes place on this little
look at that one.
Scottish or Irish little island that's kind of sequestered off to itself, and there's this huge rainstorm that's coming, and I forget how they come about, but it's these when you first see them, there are these adorable little polyp looking squid things that flop around everywhere, but then they'll latch onto you and start burrowing into your skin and trying to eat you and all this horrible stuff, right? But what they find out in the movie is that these things are violently, they react very violently to alcohol. So naturally, the way that these Scotch / Irish, I don't know which one they are, decide to deal with this monster incursion is we're all going to go run to the pub and we're going to get absolutely plastered and try and ride out this storm completely wasted while dealing with this monster incursion taking over the island. And everything starts a little bitty small, but eventually you see the mama show up, and that's when it gets pretty awesome. But it's a fantastic little film. It's very much comedy horror mixed together, kind of Shaun of the Dead almost ish, but The monster design's really cool. There's a lot of little great moments to it. There's a lot of good comedy to it. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's called Grabbers. It's fantastic.
So I guess the equivalent for that would be The World's End.
Almost, yes, almost.
That was a great movie. I need to watch that again. I haven't seen it in a while.
World's End, just with tentacle monsters.
Tentacle Monsters.
Oh.
That might turn into a hentai movie. I don't know about that one.
And then no, I don't think it counts. I was talking about a movie that I watched just the other day called The Super Deep, which technically speaking, the thing that they're fighting in that movie is a gigantic, like super massive, like mold colony is basically what it actually boils down to. But
Well,
yeah,
you got the smog monster in Godzilla.
yes,
So yes, a mold monster would.
yes, a giant prehistoric mold monster buried under the permafrost of Siberia.
Okay, I would call that a kaiju.
So
Again, the way I was describing it earlier was, if you've seen The Void, right? The Void is more Call of Cthulhu with cultists and regular people and all that, whereas the Super Deep is like the Mountains of Madness in Russia. Pretty good. There's some stuff in it that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but the effects in it are pretty damn good. And the monster is pretty cool looking whenever you finally see it and how it's constructed and all that. And it was a good little film. Again, it's on Shudder, but so if you got Shudder and can take a look at it, it's really good.
So two that I was going to add were going to be, you comedic wise, you got Tremors.
Oh, dude,
That movie's fantastic.
I love that movie so much.
As much as I enjoy watching the sequels, the first one is the best one.
Nothing, man. Yeah, the chemistry, the way that whole movie unfolds, it's so good.
Yeah, I mean,
good.
and oh come on, what was it? The other movie I had was I think I was just looking at it too. What was it? There was another one too that's kind of a giant monster movie. Oh, Deep Star 6, underwater horror movie that has giant crab monsters that they unearth, and they're having to deal with it. Because I was thinking Leviathan, but Leviathan doesn't have that. It's like that's a Russian, German experimental drug that they find on a submarine.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that
still a
top
great
15
movie though.
That 15 best kaiju movies that don't star Godzilla list is pretty good.
Okay, I'm gonna take a look at it right now.
And it does mention one movie you brought up a little earlier.
Oh, The Host. Or no, The Host was in the first one that you gave.
No,
Yeah,
I'll let him get to it because it's about halfway down the list.
Okay, so yeah, Pacific Rim. And I think about too, with mecha movies, one of my favorites always going to be is RoboJocks. And when I'm thinking about freaking Gigan with his chest chainsaw, I'm thinking of that whole thing at the end of the movie where he pulls out the freaking chainsaw from his crotch and starts trying to saw Achilles' his mech. Okay, so number 14 is 1970s space amoeba featuring Earth's animals transformed by aliens into kaijus.
Never heard of that one, but okay.
Yeah. There's a couple in here that really reach into basically it tries to stay away from the Godzilla stuff as much as it can. And
well, I mean, if you're going to stay away from the Godzilla stuff, then you're definitely going to get it into a lot more like the 50s stuff with like them, right? Giant movie, right? You're gonna get onto that era where everything was like, let's do big ass insects and just random creatures that we're just gonna make massive because that's terrifying. So
number 13 is Cloverfield again. Number 12 is
Gorgo.
Gorgo, yeah.
Okay.
I do remember seeing Gorgo.
You know what's funny is he oddly looks familiar because the fact that if you watch RoboCop, when they do the whole car commercial with the
Oh,
kaiju
yeah.
monster, it looks very similar to that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The host at
number
11.
11 is the host. Wow, the CGI in this picture looks bad, but this movie is so fantastic. I don't know, it's just maybe the way they grabbed the image. I don't remember it looking.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've watched it though, but it still holds up. Still a great movie.
I mean, and sometimes stuff in motion, right, hides a little bit of
Hides
the
it,
stuff
yeah.
going on in it. And so it looks a little bit better as long as it's moving.
So number 10 is 1977's The Legend of Dinosaurs.
Well, you didn't actually say what 11 was.
Did I? No, it was the host.
Yeah, the host.
Yeah, host. The host.
Oh,
Yeah. I was talking about, I'm sorry. The host is number 11. And we're talking about the picture they have here. It looks, the CGI looks. So if anybody wants to follow along as we're reading some of this stuff, just look up, this is on Screen Rant. It's the best non-Godzilla kaiju movies. All right, number 10, yeah, 1977's The Legend of Dinosaurs, featuring an epic duel between prehistoric monsters. Yeah. The poster of that looks awesome. Looks like it's done by Toho also, or at least
It is.
Yeah.
Toei.
Yeah. All right, yeah. This one is one I didn't watch because I just thought it was ridiculous looking. But D Wars, an English South Korean movie starring a rampaging dragon that looks like a cobra. I remember. I'm gonna watch it. I think it's still on Netflix, I believe.
Is it? I might have to go check this out.
I'll take a look too.
That looks just batshit enough. I'm down.
You're down. All right, I'll watch it.
All right, I'll bookmark it too.
Yeah. So number 8 is 2010's Monsters, exploring an alien monster infected quarantine zone. I think this was done by Gareth Edwards, the director.
Yeah, it's what got him the Godzilla job.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Gareth Edwards before he did Godzilla.
Yeah, because he really wanted Godzilla, so he did this to kind of get that doorway. All right, and then
Deep Rising.
Yep, there we go.
Number 7.
Number 7, Deep Rising. Yep, fantastic movie. I mean, come on, like just the cast of characters alone in that movie are fantastic. Was it Treat Williams? And then oh man, there's just like so many good actors in that movie. I can't think of them right now. But number 6 is 1953's The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, which was kind of the inspiration for Godzilla 1998, which is a horrible movie. Should never have been made. I understand Matthew Broderick's in it, but that movie should never have been made. This was horrible, awful movie. And that was actually the whole thing where I said that Godzilla's breath was actually him vomiting up radioactive bile.
The only thing that came out of that was the plastic cup holder you could put in your car.
Well, that and I know my dad enjoyed the cartoon series that they did. That was kind of almost a take on. It took that idea for the story and then kind of took the original Godzilla with Godzuki kind of feel to it. But no, there was no Godzuki in that one. All right, so number 5 is marine researchers battle a giant turtle in 1978's the Bermuda Depths. Oh yeah, I think I have that somewhere too. That's
Wraps around.
Yeah. That is cool though. I hate that movie. I hate it. Oh man, they're going to get me on a rant. That was an awful Godzilla movie. I had so much high hopes. And then like I remember us going in and looking at all the different concept designs of what Godzilla was going to look like. And we kind of got a glimpse of it in the movie. And we finally saw it when we watched the movie. It's like, this is awful. And Iguana? Come on, guys.
Oh, and then that Colossal movie.
Yeah, Colossal.
All right, Vinny, let me ask you this before we go on to Colossal.
Oh,
Does it irk you enough to the level of David's Monopoly problem?
does anything annoy anyone to the
okay.
level of my Monopoly?
If we're gonna get into that, that's a whole episode on its own. Things that upset Vince that I can't stand. getting DVDs or video games that have the that magnetic security sticker
Yeah.
strip inside. I pull those out. I anything I get, I have them in there. I pull them out. I just can't stand them being in there.
Yeah.
Disney
that episode should be called "Things That Give Us the Red Ass."
Star Wars is one with what Disney's been doing up to just
All right,
before
now,
the Mandalorian.
Just make a note of
Man,
that. We'll go. We'll do
there's so
that.
much I can go on off
All
on a
right,
tangent.
We'll
Michael
do
Bay
that.
Transformer movies.
Yes, the Transformer movies, other than the 1985 and I think 86 Godzilla. I mean, man, my brain's still on Godzilla. I'm trying to think of Transformers.
All right, then let's get back to it.
Oh, Jesus. There's
Back.
just so much, man. So much I could go off on. Yeah, so Colossal looks really good. I'm gonna have to watch it. It was 2016. I didn't even know it existed.
I'd heard some about it, but it was one of those movies where it's like I was kind of hearing some buzz about it, and then it just disappeared, and I never really heard anything else. So just kind of faded out of the back of my head.
Yeah.
Number 3,
Just-
Ayagoro versus Goliath. It looks like a giant Pokemon movie.
no, what it looks like is it's one of those like children's shows on PBS, like Sesame Street, which kaiju monsters they're teaching kids, and the two actors get upset at each other and they start battling, and like the kids are like, "Whoa, this is like actually watching a Godzilla movie." Copyright Dad Level Pod. We're gonna do this. This is gonna be a skit or something. Copywriting right now in this video. The epic kaiju battle at my son's daycare.
They have the inflatable costumes. And I looked them up the other day because I was thinking about getting one for Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seriously considering, because there are videos of guys out there in unicorn and dinosaur suits snow blowing their yards. I'm thinking, if I got a giant dinosaur inflatable suit and wore it to church on Halloween. Okay, so that's where my brain went with it. So, but they have them in adult and kid sizes, and there are a variety of dinosaurs out there.
Very nice.
Okay. There's so much to say there.
Look them up on Amazon. Just inflatable dinosaur costume.
So much to say there. Oh my gosh.
Again, that's a tangent. We can go back to it.
Okay. Number 2 is the story behind 1985's North Korean kaiju movie
Pulgasari.
Pulgasari. Yeah, I'm gonna let y'all read that again. Just start it again, and I'll let you read it.
Okay, the movie. Basically, let's just go into the title of the movie. Pulgasari.
Okay.
It's a North Korean kaiju movie.
Yeah, from 85.
I think
Apparently
I remember
some-
seeing it just that. It looks like a giant minotaur.
It looks sort of like the dog demon things from the Ghostbusters movie.
Yeah,
The
demon
Zool's
gods.
protectors.
Yeah.
Kind of looks like that to me.
So I guess that's the key master if he couldn't find the gatekeeper. Or
That's right.
Number 1.
Number 1, Gamera, Guardian of the Universe reboot. So yeah, this is the first one. So I think the other one was the second one. Legion is the second movie. But yeah,
Okay,
fantastic. Yeah. This was fantastic.
Okay.
I guess we can do this real quick and then we can wrap up the episode.
Do you see the article that followed it?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna look at. Yeah, the top 10 best
American kaiju
movies.
Yeah, let's go over this real quick and then.
Yeah, we gotta start wrapping up here, guys.
Yeah, it's getting late.
All right. Number 10, The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, which we've discussed.
Mhm.
Godzilla precursor. It came from beneath the sea in 1955, which I don't remember.
Ray Harryhausen, looks like.
Yep. Sure is. Number 8, Rampage, which I do want to see. Is that on Netflix by chance?
I had to look.
I'll look it up later. Number 7, Colossal. Again, the movie keeps showing up. I'm gonna have to watch it. Number 6, Tremors. It's an interesting one that none of us have talked about yet.
We did reference it, but yeah.
Yeah. Giant sandworm. Technically, if you're going to go with the, just as a quick sidebar, if you're going to talk about giant sandworms, what is it? Dune? That
Yep.
had also
And
Yeah.
Beetlejuice.
and
Massive
Beetlejuice.
sand.
Yeah, and Beetlejuice. Yep.
Okay, number 5, Godzilla from 2014,
Mhm.
which we've talked about plenty. Number 4, Q, the winged serpent, which somebody mentioned earlier. One of you
I
guys
did.
mentioned
Yeah, I think David did.
1982. Larry Cohen directed. Number 3, Pacific Rim. Well-deserved place there.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, King Kong, which is
It lumps all three.
yeah, it lumps the various versions together.
Yeah.
Number 1, Cloverfield. Okay, yeah, they're good choices, but I don't necessarily agree with the order, but at least it mentions
That I don't also agree with the fact that they're lumping in multiple entries into it
Right.
because like Kong of Skull Island was a great movie.
right. And of course, the first one, the 33 one, was iconic in its own right.
Correct. And they all deserve their own placing in the list.
Exactly.
So
I mean,
because this makes me think about like what other, like the list of American kaiju movies. Let me just do a brief search on that. We can start wrapping up after that.
yeah. I mean, because a couple of them are on here because of their innovation. A couple of them are on here because they just clearly deserve to be on here.
Correct.
It's just the order that, like, Cloverfield definitely deserves top 5 easily, but I don't know about number 1, even though it's one of my favorites. Pacific Rim.
Okay, here we go. So let me see
It's
how
pretty
many.
close.
Let me see. There's a total of, looks like, I don't know how in depth this is. This is just from IMDb. And then actually, it doesn't even, because some of these are Japanese, so I don't. This list is not right because
Yeah.
it goes into the Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. Them. It came from beneath the sea.
Okay.
Attack of the Crab Monsters. Deadly Mantis.
Okay, which we did talk about.
20 Million Miles to Earth.
Don't remember that.
That was 1957. Also, this next one is 1957, which is beginning of the end. Hold on. Yeah, here. So for the 20 million miles to Earth, the first U.S. spaceship to Venus crash lands off the coast of Sicily. On its return trip, a dangerous lizard creature comes from within and grows genetically larger.
Okay.
Or gigantic. Beginning of the end is journalist is trying to determine to get a scoop on a enormous grasshopper. So that's a grasshopper movie. Then you got the giant claw, which we talked about. There was the Cyclops. Remember that one? Earth versus the Spider.
Okay. And then wait a minute. Wasn't there a David Arquette movie where they talked about 8-legged freaks or something like that? Wasn't that a giant? Was that little spiders or was that a big spider?
Those were a bunch of giant spiders.
8-legged freaks.
8-legged freaks.
Okay,
yeah.
so that probably is inspired by that movie you just mentioned.
Well, that and there was the Ray Harryhausen, not Ray Harryhausen, but Stan Winston did that whole thing where it was this Creature Creations or something, where he did these like different movies and stuff that were based off of old 50s, 60s, 70s sci-fi horror.
Okay.
So Earth vs. Spider, and that one he did was like, it was his take on Spider-Man, where someone gets genetically engineered like to be like Spider-Man, but ends up mutating into a giant spider or half man, half spider creature.
Okay. Like Spider-Man did in the comics.
Yeah. Half Human, the story of the abominable snowman. Behemoth, the sea monster.
Okay.
The giant Gila monster.
I remember that.
Ape, 1976. Hugh, the winged serpent, was 1982. See, well, these may be no, because it's like one of these is Korean. It looks like. Zakoro, the invader, or Zakor, tiny alien hologram. What looks like a teenage girl that is sent there to destroy it with a giant reptile or something. I don't know.
Huh.
I'm not even going to butcher that name. I'm probably going to edit that one out of here. Kara, the sea monster, which was 1989. I'm sorry, 1998. Reptile, 2001. Yeah,
I bet Cara's better than that Godzilla movie from '88.
Colossal from 2016, Rampage from 2018. And then you get into the ridiculous ones that are from Comedy Central. Mega Python versus Gatoroid.
Yeah.
I don't even count those as kaiju movies.
Dino Shark.
All the Asylum movies, yes.
This looks like it's a foreign movie too. Rock Monster. That poster looks amazing. Let me put this in the thing. That's crazy.
Rock Monster.
Wait till we get the versus movie Rock Monster versus Rock Lobster.
Yeah, there you go. And it's just the B-52s naming them off part of the song. Rock Monster, Rock Lobster. Just over and over.
Yes.
Okay, so Rock Monster. Let me see, Gargantus or Garganta. And you got Claws.
Spider, half human.
Kuraku, Beast of the Amazon. Oh my god. 2013 TV movie Robo Croc.
I mean, at least it's better than than the alternative Robo Crotch.
Robo Crotch. Call back.
Different kind of movie, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Rock Monster is going to have to go on the list for watch parties.
Yeah, that cover looks great.
It does.
David, just look at the link, man. The cover looks
It's about halfway down the list.
Yeah.
All right.
Just the poster alone is enough for you to go, oh, okay. It's like it's number 23 on that list.
I mean, I know there's more kaiju movies that came in America. I just can't think of them right now. It's like 11 o'clock at night, my time here. I'm thinking about this stuff, and it's 12 where Colin's at.
Yeah.
But I'll wait for David to say what he thinks.
I have no idea what I'm looking at, but alrighty then.
Dude, it's got like this like Excalibur in the center of the screen on the poster.
Yeah, I know. It's got Excalibur. It's got like a weird random golem monster. It's got Asian script down on the bottom. It's got son of a bitch. What is this? There's an actor in here that there's a dude with a gun. There's somebody with what looks like a rocket launcher. I think there's a priest, or there's somebody just randomly holding a book, and then there's a guy with like a Luger or revolver. Oh, it's gonna kill me. What is that actor's name? I know this guy.
Look at the poster. I mean, look at
the bald guy with the mustache. He is
yes. John Polito.
Yes.
This guy's been in what? Oh, I know he's been in stuff. He's
been in a ton of stuff.
He's got a Crow.
He's got a ton. He's got a really cool rough
Highlander. Crow, Highlander. What else has he been?
Man,
he's been in a bunch of stuff.
I'm sorry, but this movie looks epic, dude. I'm just telling you, like just the CGI at the top with the golem there.
Oh no, don't get me wrong. I'm completely on board with checking this out, but
It was
I'm just
2008, man. So we're gonna have like this 2008 CGI graphics where you could just tell it's dated.
Right.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be
All right. Yeah,
something to behold.
that is definitely that is definitely watch party material. Absolutely. That takes us back to the days, Vinny, where we just
Oh
B
yeah, we
movies
just
over the
B
whole
movies
weekend.
all the time. If we could find this should be our first one we watch and like talk about it. Just put an episode together.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right, everyone. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the podcast. We went on a weird tangent here from traveling and listening to audiobooks, talking about ghost stories, kaiju movies, going down the weird rabbit hole of the internet of different kaiju movies that were made in America and everything else. If there's one that we did not list, please put it down below and share your memories. If there's memories you have of watching Godzilla movies as well, put it down below. Let us know. We love reading this stuff and we love the engagement. Thanks for everyone who checks out the podcast and leaves comments and,
And if you have any
subscribe.
suggestions for watch party movies along these lines, toss them in there.
Yeah. And we'll figure it out. And we can have you guys along with the journey if we can. So until next time, have a good one. We'll catch you later.